What candy bar made Madonna late to the stage? This is the focus group.
It's the savvy side of 9 to 5. Listen.
Bueller.
Laugh. And learn.
Negotiation. This is what you do in business.
This is the focus group with Tim Bennett.
Staunch.
And John Nash.
Keep your clothes looking neat and clean.
We're all business. Except when we're not.
Hello, everybody. That's an inside joke we'll get to later. This is Tim Bennett here with the focus group with my good friend and co-host John Nash. We're here every Wednesday. Can you believe it? Every Wednesday at 1 p.m. East. If you're watching on the Facebook live feed or on our YouTube live stream, which I never know how to put into the social media thing, because when I do that, it does an ugly little link or something, I don't like the way it looks. But we're here every Wednesday live at 1 p.m. So if you'd like to give us a call, I can't read the number, but John, can you read the number? Because I can't.
I sure can. I have a cheat sheet here, and it's 1-877-962-6846. And we were laughing.
I'm vain because my eyes are bad. So the reason I wanted John to give the number is because we're going to be doing Pick That Flick a little later, so you can see.
Well, we've staged.
Yeah, John staged
the product here. We have our friends at Criterion who provided us with a cache of movies we're going to be giving away during the deep discount segment.
The deep discount segment. So, and thanks to everybody who've been listening to our podcast, which is TFG Unbuttoned. It's every Tuesday morning we release that, and it's more pop culture, more political at times, and a little business, of course. And it's only 20 minutes. So it's very commutable.
And it's commutable, it's stairmasterable, it's treadmillable, and you're sporting high fashion today.
It's sponsorable, too.
You're sporting high fashion. This is one of the...
It's another one of the Walmart collection.
I swear it looks like you're wearing, like, Calvin Klein or something.
I kind of like it. It's $5.
I like it even more at $5, right?
Of course, we've got a new clothing sponsor coming on soon, so that's all going to go. But you'll learn more about that later in the month, right? Is it later in the month? Or? It's
going to be later in the month, yeah. So we're going to be outfitted.
We'll be outfitted for the show, which is nice.
We'll have our brought to you, like, how they say on sportscasts and stuff like that. The outfit's provided by guests of the Wheel of Fortune. Stay at.
Yeah. And if we do well, maybe they'll sponsor the boys in the booth and their wardrobe as well. We've got John and Garrett joining us, as always, bringing us out to you live. Hey, boys.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Very good.
Hey, Jens, how you doing?
Can we say that, boys?
Yeah, sure.
I don't care.
Well, we got in trouble back in the day when we called. We had Katie and Caroline, and we would call them girls. And remember, we would get all kinds of grief.
We got all kind of calls.
Rough.
Guys, I listened to the show on the way back from the house upstate on Sundays with Bob, and he's grown very fond of John and Garrett, almost more so than listening to you and I go on. So when they chime in, Bob's like, "Oh, yeah, I'll be saying something." He goes, "Oh, Garrett's going to talk."
Well, we'll have to have a John and Garrett takeover one day. Maybe we'll go to break and come back, and they can.
And we'll be back there.
Well, I won't do anything back there other than sit, because I could not work any of that equipment.
Nah, we'll talk you through it, Tim. Don't worry.
You've done that before.
John's very good about that.
Both John and Garrett were very patient.
Non-John Nash is very good about that.
Non-John Nash, yeah.
Exactly. So what's on the show today, John?
Random sample day. We're going to look at LGBT headlines from around the country and the globe. If we had one of those like old style beep RKO things spinning on top of a globe. And we've actually found a lot. You and I did not cross this time. We didn't have the same stories, but they're all very, I think, interesting in their own ways.
You know, I struggled a little bit. I went to my usual sources, so I use a lot of the local LGBT papers. And I struggled a little bit with some of the content being up to date.
Yes.
Which
I find some of the sites that, so early on in this process for the random sample where we do this thing, Tim actually created a list of the top LGBTQ news sites and publications. And we split it, and I have 6 or 7, and you have 6 or 7. And I have to say, it's fascinating how this works. Some of them are always like right up to date, and some are like, I look at the date, and it's like, July or June or May of this year for a story. So yeah, it's
Dallas, Seattle,
San Francisco, maybe
Philadelphia, and The Blade. Washington Blade are the ones that I've found have been most up to date. Surprisingly, Windy City Times and New England papers, they're behind a bit, but I think that's just probably resources and
Gay Star News is one of the ones that you gave me, and that's got world news, frankly, a lot of U.S. headlines. And then another one that I go to now and then is LGBTQ Nation.
Yes.
And they're pretty up to date in terms of their news, and I like the way they present it. It's usually just 3 articles per row. You get in there, you look pretty. So that's that we have that going on. We have a shop talk that's fascinating. You know, this whole thing with Nike introducing the new "Just Do It" campaign with Colin Kaepernick last week sparked a lot of controversy. People burning their shoes, cutting the tops of their socks off. Of course, Nike already has your money, so cut and burn away. But one thing that was not ever discussed, and we found an article in Newsweek about this, is the people that work in the call center at Nike had to take all this stuff. So we're going to talk about what they experienced last week, and it's eye-opening to me. It's really, in fact, I feel like we should just read the article as we read it. We could read it on air as we you know,
Right.
because just reading it aloud, you're like, wow.
It's cringeworthy. And then after I read the article, I went and found one of my jobs in marketing when I was at Subaru, and we did controversial marketing with Martina Navratilova. We did the LGBT campaigns with your agency, Moon City, and Mo Ryan Nash, was the amount of calls we would get from people that did not approve. You very rarely got calls from people saying that thank you for doing it, but you did get the barrage of people calling.
And by the way, I learned that lesson
I found
from
the
you.
statement that I wrote, so I'll share that one.
During the article?
Well, I found, so I went to look up because it says in here Nike had to provide a statement for the call center people. And that was part of my job, was to write the sentence. And when I looked at it now, I'm thinking, God, it was awful snarky. But
I think I know what it is, but
so we'll share that. We'll share that during the show.
that was an interesting career moment for me. I was at Subaru presenting a campaign and to a number of executives in marketing and some other folks that you would always invite in to show them what you were doing with diversity marketing. And you said, you know, and it was just it was one of those light bulb moments I should have known, but I just didn't think about it. You said, the minute you don't like someone or something, you'll hear about it.
Yep.
But you rarely hear about the happy customer.
Yeah.
Maybe 1 out of 50 is going to say, thank you for this product. But the minute someone doesn't like someone, they're on the phone or they're tapping away at a letter. So,
No, there was certainly the, and I would say it was the evangelical right was certainly mobilized.
yeah.
And they would, whenever anything came out, and the amount of hate mail. I think I kept most of it. You came down to my house and I said, there's a bin of my hate letters.
I laughed. It was this big, it's a plastic bin, and you could tell everything's, you know, stacked neatly inside of it, but it's stacks of hate mail, right?
Yeah. And some of it internal, from Subaru people internally, too, the hate mail. Didn't think we're doing this. Why are we doing this?
My God.
We have to do this.
My God.
Sure. Yeah.
So that's what we got on the show today. If you live on the Eastern Seaboard and you're in the path of Hurricane Florence, we've been watching that one.
Carolinas,
The
right?
Carolinas. And it looks like it's actually veering more towards South Carolina. Like suddenly Hatteras, Raleigh, like all these traditional places where hurricanes make landfall are now a little safer. Doesn't mean you're not going to get 3 feet of rain.
And that's what they were saying. They said because it may just sit off the coast, and they said some places may get 4 feet.
Think of that, 4 feet of rain.
Which is, combine that with the winds off the coast, it would be...
All right, well, do you ever watch the Weather Channel?
Yeah.
I can only stomach it for about 10 minutes. And usually there's segments.
Do you watch the 20 minutes of commercials, or do you watch the 20 minutes of the weather?
I watch the weather.
That's my problem with it.
Goes right to the
Way
commercials.
too many commercials.
They had this guy, a meteorologist, describing what happens when you have massive amounts of water coming down. And they had a graphic of a car, a mailbox, and a light pole. And they show water. They said 2 inches of water does this. It could take you off your feet. 6 inches of water or a foot of water can move a car. And then when they showed how much water 3 to 4 feet was, you're like, wait, that can move a house. That can move a building. So, yeah, you don't want to.
Well, it's going to be tremendously wet and tremendously
Unsafe.
big. What else did the president say? I think it was wet and big. Big and wet.
Leave it to
Tremendously
Trump.
big and tremendously wet.
So,
Something like the tremendous amount of rain.
so go. Get out. If they tell you to get out, get out.
Prepared. Fist bump, fist bump. So what caught your eye this week?
What caught your eye? Here's what Tim and John found.
Guys, do you prefer, if you're going to a public bathroom, to dry your hands with a paper towel, or do you like those hand blower things?
Definitely paper towel.
Paper towel, yeah.
Yeah, all right.
Perfect.
Well,
Paper towel guy, too.
guys, this
like to wipe my face.
this is why you're happy and healthy, because apparently those air dryer things, the headline is jet hand dryers are basically germ cannons. Germ cannons. So they've done. Two studies were done. One here in the U.S., one in the U.K. And they did in the U.K. They looked at 4 different hospitals over a period of 6 to 8 weeks, and they measured the amount of Staphylococcus aureus, which is the staph infection, in the bathroom. They made sure that in all the 4 bathrooms in each hospital they were monitoring only had access to the hand dryer, the aired thing, no paper towels. And they measured the thing, and it turns out that the bacteria amounts were pretty troublesome. And it turns out that the reason this is when someone flushes a toilet and the lid is not down, microparticles of fecal matter go into the air. When the blow hand dryer goes on, it literally sucks those particles into its vent and blows them on your hands and around the room.
So if you're at a rest area and there's 50 toilets and you're because they don't have lids, that stuff's all floating in the air. I'll never go to the restroom again.
Yeah.
Ugh. That's nasty.
The very design of these machines makes for easier germ spreading, as they say.
So it's not from your hands being wet.
No. Well, the second part is most people don't wash their hands properly. So even if you did rinse your hands and you put them in this dryer thing or under the blowing air, if you didn't wash your hands properly, you're now spreading bacteria as well.
What, your unit?
Just from whatever you touched. And I remember this is like they were looking at hospital situations here. Of course,
hospital situations.
So they have to be super clean. You don't want staph infection, right? So, of course, companies who produce and sell the hand dryers, such as Dyson, one of your favorite companies, have criticized the design of these negative studies while touting their own research showing that jet dryers are actually safer. So then we hop ahead to a University of Connecticut study. The past is always present in our dear state of Connecticut, where we hail from. And basically, a researcher there said there's a lot of bacteria in bathrooms. Hand dryers basically suck it up and spray it on people's hands, posing a possible risk for the elderly or people with health. And he said that's because bathroom bacteria comes from feces and gets aerosolized. You know when you spray a can of aerosolized. So that So
I wonder, I guess, so if it's sucking in the air, right, to blow dry your hands.
So those particles are in the atmosphere.
And they get sucked in, they blow out on your hands.
And they
so
blow.
There's no filter then, is what they're saying. There's no filter in those machines.
And you are so smart. This is why we do the focus group every week. Everybody learns something. I always learn something new about my co-host, that he's smart. On the bright side, dryers fitted with high-efficiency particulate air HEPA filters blocked roughly 75% of bathroom bacteria.
It's still not enough.
Yeah, but 75% isn't bad. So I always hate these things. I hate when I'm in a bathroom. New York Public Library is prime for this. Bathrooms are clean, they're fine, but you have a row of sinks and then this solitary, lonely little white box with a push the button. And I'm like, oh.
You don't want to pay for paper.
No, and then you never really dry, and then you wipe it on your hand. Ugh, yeah.
Dyson can't make a vacuum, but the hand dryer does.
Oh, I love the blade.
That does okay, but the vacuum sucks. Not in a good way.
So, yeah, I would say, folks, that if you're in a bathroom with your only option is the air thing, you might want to double think that. I would say still wash your hand. Well, there you go. Wash your hands. You're going to touch the knob to get out. Yeah, well, whatever.
Well, I wonder about that.
Sometimes I'm like a cat with a sparkly toy or a little ball. Like I see a headline like I like the term germ cannon. So the minute I read this, I'm like, okay, this is caught my eye because I really like that germ cannon thing. But that's what caught my eye.
I had 2 very pedestrian things.
Besides a fecal matter cannon?
Well, I get in trouble all the time, and any of my friends who watch the show know, and they've run into this that have moved me, particularly Brian and Matthew and Richard. And I love to keep a plastic bag. So the grocery bags you get, the plastic grocery bags, because you never know. I use them for everything. I even use, you can see over there in my bag now, if you could see here, I've got plastic bags hanging out of it for an umbrella or for putting my shirt in or whatever. But I didn't know this, and for years I was throwing them in the recycle bin, but they don't want them.
No.
Because they can't be recycled, I guess. Or you have to recycle them. You can bring them back to the stores and they'll recycle them or something.
It's not the right kind of plastic for recycling.
They're a problem.
Yeah.
So this headline I looked at, it said, Kroger to phase out plastic bags at all stores. So I thought, well, that's awful nice. So that it's the nation's largest grocery chain. They order 6 billion bags a year.
I didn't know Kroger was the largest.
I didn't either. But they operate 2,779 stores in 35 states and D.C., and they're under a bunch of different brands. But as I read on in the story, they plan to phase out the bags in the stores by 2025. It's going to take them 7 years? Did they buy that many bags?
There's a warehouse of these plastic
Or they're under
bags.
contract, but I thought, is it going to really take you 7 years?
Can't you just stop?
Thank you. Right? That's what I thought. So I thought, well, okay. They said they're going to start in Seattle, no surprise, the land of the big blue marble. They're going to start out there at the QFC chain, where they're going to be plastic bag free as of next year. They said this is a broader shift by companies to reduce waste, which is a smart thing. I'm all for this. They said especially plastic. They said Disney, Starbucks, Marriott, and McDonald's are all getting rid of plastic straws, and Dunkin' Donuts is finally phasing out their polystyrene foam cups by 2020. IKEA also will eliminate all single-use plastic products from its shelves by 2020, including straws. So I don't think that's a good thing. The plastic thing has gone out of control, but you know why we've got plastic everywhere.
No. I mean,
What's plastic made from?
petroleum.
Oil, the oil industry.
Well, remember we were down in Texas once at doing focus groups, and you couldn't find a paper cup if you paid someone. And you said to me, I said, where's the styrofoams everywhere? You're like, and there was an oil rig literally like.
Oil products. So the oil companies obviously are probably not happy with this because getting rid of all this plastic will affect their business. And then in the opening of the show, we talked about a candy bar that made Madonna late for stage. So did you know the story about the Clark candy bar? So the Clark bar has been saved from extinction, and it's going to return to production in Pennsylvania, of all places, where it was founded in Pittsburgh. Back in 1917, an Irish immigrant, D.L. Clark, invented the Clark bar, which is a chocolate-coated peanut butter crunch bar. I used to love Clark bars.
Yeah.
You like them?
Yeah.
Kind of like a Butterfinger, I guess. So they were individually wrapped and shipped to troops during World War I. That's what they were originally used for. And the Clark family sold the business in 1955, and ownership changed several times. And it ended up with the New England Confectionery Company in Revere, Mass., which we know as Necco. So the Necco wafers.
So this is, okay, so the company that made Necco was the holding company that did Clark Bar.
They did Clark bars. They did the Sweetheart, Conversation Hearts,
Well, yeah.
Necco wafers.
Got it, okay. But
They
they
did a number of
closed, and they...
So the fate of the Clark bar and other nostalgic candies such as the Necco wafers and the Sweetheart Conversation Hearts was thrown into limbo because they declared bankruptcy in last April, and you and I talked about buying it. But
You wanted to buy it for $50.
Well, Round Hill...
We were not exactly contenders for the Necco wafer.
So somebody
company.
bought the whole empire of
And it is an empire.
New England Confectionery Company. You want to guess how much they spent?
Okay.
You probably could have scraped it together.
If you're saying that, is it
It's giving you a hint.
they bought it for maybe $50 million?
$17.3 million.
$17.3 million?
Now, whatever this company is, so Round Hill Investments did this, and now they're selling off
Each
each
asset.
individual thing. The only thing that's sold so far, apparently, is this Clark bar, a company that makes the Mallow cups.
Oh, I remember those.
So it's so there's a guy named Forgione who bought it. He
Bring back the Necco wafer, though. That was my favorite candy as a kid. One of my favorites.
the Necco wafer.
Yeah, I love Necco wafers.
So he's declined to say how much he paid for it, and he said it's going to take him about 6 months to get production underway. He bought the recipes, he bought the machines, and bought everything to make these Clark bars. And he said it's taken us a while to bring it back because we saw how upset people were. We want to make sure we do it right. He said no candy bar should go out of production on its 101st birthday.
Its 101st birthday, huh?
So I had a friend, and I'll say allegedly now and allegedly after, but I had a friend that worked for Arista Records back in 1985, and I just moved to Philadelphia, and there was a little-known artist named Madonna that was going to be one of the headliners at Live Aid.
Thickacone.
So she was going to be one of the headliners at Live Aid. And if everybody remembers watching Live Aid in 1985, she was late to the stage.
I do.
The reason she was late is she had sent all these people out looking for Clark bars.
She wanted a Clark
and
bar.
she refused to go on stage, allegedly, until she had a Clark bar. So they were looking all over for these Clark bars. They finally found one, they said, at either a Wawa or 7-Eleven down there. And then they said she then took a pit stop with Sean Penn in one of the porta potties, allegedly. But had her Clark bar, and then she ended up on stage. But she was late. I think she was about 45 minutes late to stage. They blamed it on the Clark bar. So that's
have you seen footage lately from that, like Live Aid and stuff? Yeah. Tim and I were talking last weekend. I found a documentary on Netflix that I mentioned to him called Strike a Pose, and it's about the 7 dancers who are the backup dancers for Madonna on the Blonde Ambition tour. And whenever they cut to video, like, so they'll be interviewing someone today with beautiful HD quality. Then they'll cut to video that was shot, and it has the lines, and then they show newscasters with the big shoulders. Really, it takes you down memory lane. And Live Aid was like that. We watched Live Aid. It wasn't exactly
like... It looks very muddy.
It looks...
Like the old MTV clips.
Exactly. Not like sharp, but back then it was, I guess, sharp enough for the concert,
right? We loved it. We loved it. So that was what caught my
nicely
eye.
Done.
A business birthday.
Everyone does celebrity birthday greetings, but the Focus Group is the only show in the universe that celebrates business birthdays.
This one's a little highbrow and, in fact, probably boring. But,
I didn't think so, but I
thought you liked it.
I thought you might have thought so because you only put one picture in.
I was bored to death.
If you put about 5 panels of pictures, that means you like the business birthday. This one, I think...
Well, Alfred Abraham Knopf Sr., born September 12, 1892, died in 1984 at 91 years old. He was an American publisher and one of the top publishers of the 20th century and founder of Alfred A. Knopf, Inc., which is a publishing house. They were known as, they had a reputation for the pursuit of perfection and elegant taste in terms of the books and the writers that they would publish. He and his wife Blanche had started this company, and they started the company, the publishing company, and they regularly traveled abroad and were known for publishing European, Asian, Latin American, and Russian writers, which were overlooked by the Americans. They said a lot of the American houses. Alfred Knopf was acquired by Random House in 1960, and then was later acquired by Bertelsmann, and now is part of Doubleday Publishing. And they said he was introduced to his wife Blanche at a party, the Lawrence Athletic Club, in 1911, and their relationship was built on their love of books, John. See, you and Bob could have had this happen. He said,
no, Bob was not a book. He's a new book fan.
That's what I mean.
But not in the old
Blanche
days.
Blanche said of the relationship, Alfred had realized that I read books constantly, and he'd never met a girl who did. She said, I saw him, and all we did was talk books, and nobody liked him, my family least of all. But I did because I had someone to talk to about books. We loved to talk books, and we talked of making books. We decided we would get married and make books and publish them. So, in fact, they got married in 1916, and they started this publishing business, and they were friends of all the big publishers at the time, Bennett Cerf. And remember Bennett Cerf? He was on What's My Line?
No.
And, he's a great guy. Frank Doubleday.
Well, yeah, sure.
Henry Harper, you know, all the
names.
She died in 1966. He died of congestive heart failure in 84. He died at his estate in Purchase, New York. Just north of New York City, right? Mm-hmm. He had very little enthusiasm for the publishing industry during his time. He said, too many books are published and they're overpriced. Then he also said the biggest fundamental change is the fact that editors are no longer editors and writers are no longer writers, that people have had to change too much of what they do. And even if a book is bad, the publishers have to try to figure out a way to put them out. And he thought that was wrong, that the writing was not very good in a lot of books. He said particularly American authors were not good at writing. He said Americans simply can't write. He said, I don't mean that they can't master prose or a style of elegance or distinction. I mean, they can't write simple, straightforward, correct English.
I don't know about that.
He said he rejected Jack Kerouac and Frank George Orwell over the years. They sent him not interested. And they said he was very outspoken and cranky, and he would often, if you got under his skin, he would do these long, long letters. And they said he would find his voice in letters of complaint to hotels, restaurants, and stores if they failed to meet his high standards.
Wait. He found his voice in letters of complaint.
They said this outspoken aspect of his character grew increasingly frequent as he aged. And they said one example, he had a 6-year-long war of words against Eastman Kodak over a lost roll of film. They wrote back to each other for 6 years.
Back and forth. And
Happy
back
birthday,
and
Alfred
forth.
Knopf Sr.
Alfred Knopf Sr. Okay, very good.
Yeah. So, hey, everybody. It's I also mentioned earlier in the show, as did John, that everyone knows that Deep Discount is a partner of ours here in the focus group. And John's got a shark puppet again this week. And,
Welcome to the Deep Discount segment.
you gotta, there
Tim
you go.
loves the puppet. Wait, I gotta do the puppet right. Welcome to Deep Discount. This month is Criterion month. Are you a good
Is that a
puppeteer?
new voice? What happened to your pirate voice? You got to do the pirate voice.
Arr. Arr.
Yeah. So it's Criterion month all month.
We love Criterion
Criterion's as Criterion special, Criterion sale all through the month of September. If you purchase anything from Deep Discount, go to focusgroupradio.com, click on the Deep Discount logo, and then shop away. And if you do purchase anything, please
Criterion,
please take a picture of it. And send it to us at letters@focusgroupradio.com. Or if you want to post it on social media, that's fine as well. But make sure that we see it. And if you buy something in the month of September from Criterion, you get a pair of our famous socks. If you buy 3 things or more, we'll send you 2 pairs.
2 pairs.
2 different colors.
So that's from me and Tim. But now Criterion wants to thank everybody for shopping at Deep Discount. This is the Criterion corner here.
The Criterion corner, I like that.
Let me put the puppet back on. Arr, it's the Criterion corner. Arr. I love making Tim laugh with a simple
so
hand
corny.
puppet. Oh, well, we love corny. We grew up
That's
with this
$2
stuff.
you ever spent.
The best. I think it was $4.99. I think the puppet was. So we're gonna give away some discs from our Criterion collection here. I think we're doing 3 a week.
Yeah.
So we're gonna play an audio clue. It's a game that me and Tim used to play on our old platform called Pick That Flick. We're gonna play a clue audio. It's about 12 seconds. If you know what movie this came from, and by the way, the movie is in the Criterion collection. That was a very smart thing that Tim said. If you're going to pull a clip, it better be from a movie in the Criterion collection. Of course, there are many in the Criterion collection, so good luck. But hopefully you'll know this. If you know the name of the movie this clip comes from, and you're the first of 3,
We're going to give away 3. So
giving 3 discs away.
the first 3 people that contact us at letters@focusgroupradio.com. So rather than we know there's some of you are on Twitter, some of you are on Instagram,
Easier,
Facebook.
yeah.
Go to letters@focusgroupradio.com. The first 3 people that guess the correct name of the film, send us a note with your guess, and we'll let you know if you won, and then we'll ask for your address and ship out something out of our Criterion corner.
And there's a lot of stuff they send us. It's great. Like last week, I went over Midnight Cowboy. It's right here, Midnight Cowboy. All right, so Garrett's going to play the clue for you all. And as I said, if you know the name of the movie and you're one of the first 3 to get to us at letters@focusgroupradio.com, you're going to get something from the Criterion collection.
Bad for you nonsense.
How does it work?
Oh, it's simple. Head up and eyes forward. As in life.
Head up, eyes forward, as in life.
So can you play that one more time, Garrett, just so that we have it?
Bad for you nonsense.
How does it work?
Oh, it's simple. Head up and eyes forward. As in life.
Now, no one's going to know this, but it's one of my favorite movies. But anyway,
Really?
but I've got a lot of favorites.
Is it science fiction? I don't think Criterion's got science fiction.
It is not
do they?
science. They've got a couple titles. It's not science fiction.
So what movie did you pick this?
So I was going through the Criterion collection, and I remembered, I was surprised they had this because it was one of the first. This movie left a really cool mark on me because it was so well written and directed, but it's David Mamet's first film, and it's called House of Games. And David Mamet's a Pulitzer Prize-winning playwright, but the movie is it's a stylish story of a well-known psychologist, played by Lindsay Krause, who is slowly drawn into the world of high-stakes poker when she's conned while trying to help a patient, who is played by Joe Mantegna, with heavy gambling debts. Intrigued by the psychological drama, she reads each player like a book, but who's really getting scammed? I think you'd love it. It's a dialogue-heavy, back and forth.
Pay attention.
I'm going to say it this way. No matter how much you pay attention, the surprise... all right, I've been read.
No, I mean, it sounds like one of these that I got to really pay attention to.
the end is a twist that I saw the movie at least 2 or 3 times years ago before I realized I had it on Criterion, and I still missed some key points where some dialogue happens that you realize, oh, wait a minute, something's going on. So I picked House of Games. It was David Mamet's first film.
When was that done?
This was done in 1987.
Okay. I picked something very predictable, and I saw.
Thank God you did.
Well, I saw that it was there, and everybody knows we're fans of Grey Gardens, and if you have the original, and I'm not talking about the one that was done for HBO, that's nonsense. No. You have to get the real Grey Gardens.
The Maisel brothers film.
The Maisels, right?
The Mr. Maisel.
Well, there's a. So in the first disc of Grey Gardens, which is also on Criterion, but in the first disc you get introduced to Big and Little Edie, which were cousins of and relatives of First Lady Jackie Kennedy Onassis. But there was so much film left over that in 2006 the Maisels put together another kind of more in-depth look to some of the other characters that were around them, like Jerry or Lois. And so it's called The Beals of Grey Gardens. And I actually like this even more than Grey Gardens. I don't know if have you watched it recently?
Yes.
It goes in a little deeper, and if you're in on what the shtick, you can pick up a lot more of the humor and some of the lines that are just crazy. There's a favorite one where Little Edie says, "My brother told me I should go to Atlantic City," and she says, "I'm not that broken down yet," which I love. But so this kind of gives you a more in-depth look of them, and if you're a Grey Gardens fan, you need to get this. And this really is the best price that I've ever seen for this disc. It's $12.45.
Criterion disc?
Yeah.
It's on sale, yeah.
Right, and so you should add that to your collection. It's The Beals of Grey Gardens. They don't have yet, because I don't believe it's been released or it's just been released, is That Summer.
Yes.
Which will be the third one, which is kind of a prequel.
Yeah, and almost behind the scenes because they were getting ready to film an interview. And
so what's the new release this week?
The release this week is This Is Us, the complete second season on DVD. This is a hit NBC drama. I have friends who swear by this show. Oh, are you watching This Is Us? Are you watching This Is Us?
Have you watched it?
No.
I don't either, because I think I've become a time shifter so much.
But I have people who, like, my sister calls me, "Have you watched This Is Us?" I'm like, well, why aren't you? Like, it becomes accusatory. Like,
the ladies seem to like it more than the men.
Well, actually, that's funny you bring it up, because everybody who's recommended to me is a woman. So it's This Is Us complete second season on DVD, available at deep discount. So let's recap for our audience. Criterion month here on the Focus Group. If you buy one Criterion disc from deep discount, snap a picture of it. Show us the order slip that came with it. Let us know you did that. We're going to give you a pair of Focus Group Radio socks. If you buy 3 Criterion discs, the puppet knows more than John does. You get 3 discs, you get 2 pair of socks. There you go.
Purple and yellow and black.
Then remember to play the audio game for a chance to win one of 3 discs. You see how he opens his mouth wide? 3! All right, let's see if it can sync up with Garrett.
Thanks, deep discount.
We're a little off.
I know. Hey, we're going to take a quick break, and when we return, we're going to be doing the random sample LGBT headlines from around the world and globe. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
Brought to you by the Volkswagen Tiguan. Visit VW.com to learn more. Focus on the savvy side of 9 to 5 with the Focus Group.
Try, really try.
Listen, laugh, and learn with Tim and John.
I never try anything. I just do it.
Hey, welcome back to the Focus Group. Tim Bennett here, as always, with my good friend and co-host, John Nash. Find us here live every Wednesday at 1 p.m. East. You're smirking.
I was looking at the camera.
Were you?
I'm doing what they do on, like, Morning Joe,
yeah.
like when they introduce the guests, like it's John Nash. Guys, I don't know.
I'm not good at
Should I
that.
be serious? Like,
I'm not good
no,
at that.
I think you have to smile, but it's a hard one. They have to hold the look for a while, and sometimes you could tell the smile's
I guess
going.
you got to practice. I'm not good. I'm all over the map. I was watching. I'm playing with things. Anyway, hey, it's the random sample, which is LGBT news, as John says, from around the world.
Globe.
Mostly USA, I think.
Yeah, this time around it's USA. Yeah.
So John and I each picked stories that you may have seen or may not have seen that are from various LGBT sources. A lot of them are local papers or some local websites that that exists. So we're going to start off with John and John's first story here on the Random Sample.
Hollywood royalty, Hollywood royalty, see me to my car. This is a Hollywood royalty story, but it's the child of Hollywood royalty. And it's Farrah Fawcett, and I shouldn't be making light of this at all because it's Farrah Fawcett's son, Redmond O'Neill, and this is the son with Ryan O'Neill, viciously beat a gay man and called him a faggot, lawsuit says. A gay man filed a lawsuit against Redmond O'Neill, the son of actors Farrah Fawcett and Ryan O'Neill, accusing him of a vicious attack motivated by hate. Ken Fox was represented by Gloria Allred.
There you go.
That's, by the way, that we have a.
Is she representing him?
That's a picture. If you're listening, we put a picture up of Redmond O'Neill. That's Farrah's and Ryan O'Neill's son.
Okay.
Looks a little.
Did he get beat up too?
Well, that's a picture from him getting arrested later in the month this happened. And so Ken Fox, was represented by Gloria Allred, said that the attack occurred on May 2nd this year when he was going to a laundromat. Fox said he saw O'Neill approach him wearing a hoodie and he was carrying a bottle. What are you looking at, faggot? Am I allowed to say that? Because they do this little thing.
I think because you're a faggot, you can say it. But I don't know. I mean,
I love Tim. Thank you, Tim. I think you're right.
Isn't that like the N-word?
I think I can say it because Fox says that O'Neill rushed at him and hit him in the nose with the bottle. O'Neill stood over him when he was on the ground, taunting him with slurs and punching him while threatening to hit him again with the bottle. He eventually stopped and walked away. O'Neill was arrested after a 4-day crime spree in early May, which police say included attempted murder and possession of meth. The Los Angeles District Attorney filed a felony assault charge in connection with the attack on Fox. But Redmond O'Neill's attorneys are trying to figure out if he's psychologically fit to stand trial. And the man that he beat up says, in my opinion, he is competent enough to know exactly what he was doing. Fox said he wanted to hurt an old, weak, defenseless gay man. He wanted to hurt me, and he did hurt me. Redmond O'Neill came out later with a statement, and he blames his rich parents for this.
Of course.
Everything that happened was his parents.
Mother's fault.
And he says in a quote, "The pressure that came with that set off a time bomb in my head," the 33-year-old said. "I never asked for any of this. I never wanted any attention," being the son of two famous people.
So I decided to do meth. And
crime spree. He was also arrested for possession. Attempted murder, possession of meth, a whole list of things. 33, folks.
How old was the guy he beat up?
Oh, I think he was in his mid-60s.
Oh, okay. I'm just wondering how he did. I'm wondering if he, did he look like Charles Nelson Riley with a scarf, or how did he know the guy was gay?
That's not even addressed in the article, and you picked up on something that I was curious about, like why would he just randomly disguise a laundromat, whatever. Although Fox claims he was just minding his own business and paid no mind until Redmond O'Neill came up and started to attack him. So there you go.
It's horrible.
Hollywood royalty.
Is Farrah Fawcett dead? Didn't she die? She died when somebody else was popular around her. And
didn't she die the same day Michael Jackson died?
Yeah, I think you're right. And it was overshadowed.
Right.
It was overshadowed by Michael Jackson.
Yeah,
so poor Farrah Fawcett got nothing. But she wasn't that old, was she?
No.
Is the husband dead too?
Ryan O'Neill is still very much alive, I think. Yeah.
We should know that. I guess we're bad. Hollywood royalty.
62.
Who is Ryan O'Neill?
Farrah Fawcett
was 62. Yeah. Okay.
Well, so pretty young.
And she did die around Michael Jackson's time, huh?
I think the same day.
Didn't say what she died of. Did she have cancer? Maybe. I think she had cancer.
Possibly.
I remember that. Yeah, we're off track.
All right. That was the first story. Tim, your first story.
This one surprised me only because of the headline. It said, "Gay couple denied marriage license by town clerk in New York."
Now, you should qualify that by saying upstate New York.
Oh, no. New York. I know you upstate versus New York City, but that's why it caught my eye, was because it was upstate New York. And it was upstate New York, but not really that far upstate.
No.
It was outside of Albany by about 50 miles west, so I guess that is rural.
Yeah, it's getting there, yeah.
Town called Root, New York. There was a gay couple from upstate, what?
Root, New York?
Root.
That's rural.
R-O-O-T.
Yeah, that's rural. Meet me in Root. I have some root beer.
Montgomery County. So Thomas Hurd and Dylan Toffin are from Root, New York. They went to their local courthouse expecting to walk away with a marriage license, and they were turned down by Laurel Erickson. She had claimed that they didn't have an appointment. This is what the lawyers are saying in the town of Root.
Yeah.
Subic is saying that, well, if they had an appointment, she would have given him the license. But she does have a religious objection, and she referred the matter to another deputy clerk who said that they couldn't give the license to them because they didn't have an appointment. So there was all this dancing around, but essentially what they found out later was that, in fact, she opposes same-sex marriage, and openly so, but she really claimed that there was a technicality. And they fought back and got an attorney and said, this still raises the question of why a government official was allowed to avoid doing their job. No one was asking her church to sanction the marriage. They were just asking her as a government official to follow the law. So, of course, Andrew Cuomo, the governor, has stepped in. He said he couldn't believe this was happening in his state, couldn't believe it was happening in New York, as New York was one of the largest states back in 2011 to pass marriage equality. And he said, I'm going to look into this, and this will never happen again. The attorney, again, for the town, this guy named Subic, his name is Robert Subic, he's still trying to dance around. He says, well, they could have gone to another jurisdiction and gotten the license. And they didn't have to get it there. They could have gone somewhere else. But the issue still is the fact that this woman pulled a Kim Davis and decided that based upon her religious beliefs, she was not going to issue them a marriage license.
And it still goes on today.
Right. And that's why I laughed about New York. And, of course, now the ACLU is involved in the capital region of Albany. But, yeah, folks. That's why I looked at it, though, because of New York.
And you are right.
There is very much a big difference between upstate, like there is with Pennsylvania. I mean, there's Philadelphia, and there's Pittsburgh, and in the middle,
it's Kentucky.
It's Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
So,
but you are right.
Alabama in the middle.
Your take on it, New York State.
New York State.
If depending on where you live, you don't differentiate downstate from upstate from.
You do.
I do, yeah, because I know.
What was your second story?
All right, the National Lesbian Gay Journalists Association wrapped up their annual convention out in, I believe it was Palm Springs this year, and at the very final event, a volunteer MC got up to speak, and here's what he said. But first, the headline reads, LGBTQ journalism group apologizes after host refers to attendees at event as things and its. So this guy gets up and volunteer. He's from a Fox station, and
he's gay.
He's gay. His name is Marshall McPeak. He volunteered to do this, and he gets up at the last event. He says, "Ladies and gentlemen, things and its." The comment was widely regarded as offensive to trans and non-binary reporters in attendance. The minute it happened, a journalist there named Monica Roberts, who is trans, reportedly immediately yelled out, "Oh, no, he did not.
Oh, no, he didn't.
There are no things or it's here." So me and Tim, so basically it was a big kerfuffle, and I don't mean to minimize it at all, but it was a big kerfuffle. But within hours, maybe not as many hours as they wanted to make it, maybe it should have been instantaneous, Marshall McPeak, the guy who did this, apologized and then quit the organization as a way of atonement, and that seemed to be, where it's left off. But me and Tim read this.
Do you think if the Addams family was in attendance?
Well, that's what.
Okay?
So we were like
cousin it and thing.
Cousin it and thing. We were like, how did he?
How was it delivered?
Yeah,
was it tape? We haven't
was it
seen
humorous? Was it like ladies and gentlemen, things in it? It's like I don't even know how. I guess it's just inappropriate. Period. But this to me was one of those seminal pieces where you say to yourself, if you're not sure what you're going to say, don't say it. If you have any doubt, was this a joke, you think?
Well, I think he probably felt it was a joke, and I think probably there were people who laughed. I said in all transparency, I probably would have laughed if I heard it because of the absurdity of it, and really I think he was making light of the fact of,
I've said
this before, of all the letters and now all the pronouns. And the more we begin to segment ourselves, the more we end up being nothing. Because if you segment everything, you can't measure anything, and you're going to have no power. And I was just recently at the NGLCC event. I was at a cocktail reception. All these people had name tags on with all these different pronouns on them. And I would say 99.9% were the pronouns you would have thought: he, him, his, she, hers, whatever. But there were an awful lot of people that were somewhat befuddled, or I don't want to sound comfortable, but like, do I really need this? on
Yeah,
here? Do I really
yeah.
need the pronouns on here? Now, I suppose if you're binary or you're identifying as something other than what you may appear on the,
Sure.
on the surface,
Yeah.
that's one thing. But I think that's a conversation you have with somebody if they address you wrong. But I just think this makes things very confusing. You and I got dinged on this when we talked about it with Facebook having 89 different identities. I think the number was 89.
89.
When you go get a driver's license, you're not going to get 89 choices. So,
On the devil's advocate flip side, I love when everybody's represented, and I love when everybody sees themselves in advertising or in a form or a pronoun or representation. But it's complicated. You and I actually talked about this a lot. It's complicated. I can't even keep up with it, to be honest with you.
No.
When we were doing our initial work with Subaru for the, it was the gay and lesbian consumer, or the lesbian and gay. Take your pick. We didn't really care if the L and the G, which came first, but that was how it was. And when we were in marketing meetings and we started to add in...
It's about same-sex couples.
Same-sex couples. And we started to add in other things, other, things in it. When we started to add in other segmentation possibilities or ideas, it literally was confusing to the people we were presenting to.
And then things get shut down because one of the examples was there was somebody from a bear magazine that was bombarding senior management.
Cubs and otters and
They were you need to be advertising to bears. You're missing an opportunity with bears. So we're sitting in the meeting and LGBT comes up and one of the innocent straight allies says, "Is the B for bears?"
Yeah.
No, it's bisexuals. Bisexuals. And then it started going down the rabbit hole where you could see we're trying to sell the program in for gay and lesbian consumers. And when you start adding in all the other letters and everything else, it's like you said, representation is one thing, but when you continue to segment and resegment and segment again and again, you're going to end up with nothing.
Well, and in the example you're giving, it gave them an extremely simple decision to make.
Yeah.
I'm confused. I don't want to deal with this right now. Let's just not do it. And it's not that they didn't approve, but it literally was, I can't think about this right now. It's too complex. It's not as simple as here's the three demographics.
Well, when you brought this story to my attention, I went and I looked up. There's a whole site about how to handle all these different pronouns now that people want to be addressed with.
Wow.
And there were flags now. So similar to the rainbow flag, I think there were 4 or 5 different flags that are addressed for gender neutral, gender fluid, all the other non-binary. And I said to you, I was almost going to post the flags and say, does anybody know what these flags are?
No,
because
I've never. By the way, this is news to me. I had no idea there were even flags for it.
didn't either, but maybe we're bad gays.
All right, so that was an unfortunate event at the close of the NLGJA conference out in Palm Springs.
But I would have liked to have seen the delivery to
actually see was he attempting a bad joke or whatever.
Other than somebody getting on Twitter and immediately going crazy. My second one, I laughed at this one. I don't know if you've watched any of this, but the headline is "Man Arrested for Blindfolding Straight Men and Tricking Them into Making Gay Porn."
This was confusing.
Has this ever happened to you boys? You ever been blindfolded and tricked?
I don't know. I decided to keep the blindfold on. I didn't want to risk it.
Then you'll never know. Yeah. Good one.
So there's this gay porn producer. He's made over 600 videos of him tricking straight men.
600, and he's
facing prison. He's facing prison. He's been arrested for blindfolding men and tricking them into making gay porn. His name is Brian Denoumastier, or Mostier. I'm going to pronounce it wrong, or say it wrong, but we'll just call him Brian. He's 33. He was arrested this week. He faces 5 charges in relation to the porn site Straight Boys, B-O-Y with a Z. And that's one of the videos there, that's Straight Boy. And that's Brian on the right. So he was arrested. So the videos are of an amateur nature. And they're a version of the very popular themed, you've probably seen these on Pornhub or these sites if you were cruising around, called Bait Bus. And there's these guys they pick up and they get them in the van and they say, "Oh, I've got a woman who's going to service you."
The woman's actually there to start.
She's there and she talks to them, they blindfold them. But those are all scripted. That's like a Jerry Springer show. So those are all scripted, and they're called the Bait Bus. And the blindfold comes off, and then they convince the guy, if you finish up with the guy, then we'll give you money. Now, I used to think it was real until I saw somebody Derek and Romaine had on that was a gay porn star that was on the Bait Bus.
Oh, okay.
So I realized that, this is all scripted.
All fantasy.
But this is not. So this guy goes on he goes on Craigslist in Homestead, California, and pretends he's a bored housewife and invites the boys over to the house. And so when they come in, he dupes them and says they arrive at the house. They agree to be blindfolded or wear blacked out goggles. They're then tied to the chair and they wear headphones so they can't hear anything. They lean back and they get service. There's no narrative in the porn. And they said they do the deed, and then they move on. And the guys all say they always want to ask for assurance that there's no cameras or anything. He assures them that his wife is married and he's in the Army and he would never photograph them because they wouldn't want to get caught. So these guys have found out, in fact, they are being videotaped. Now, I, of course, did a search. You can find, the site's been taken down, but you can Google and find videos on third-party sites. This made me laugh. The U.S. Department of Homeland Security is investigating. And they said
hardly a Homeland Security
he was charged with 2 counts of illegal interception of oral communication, along with 3 counts of record-keeping violations. What would the record-keeping violation be?
I don't know. It's like a chicken scratch.
So I guess
like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
I thought illegal interception of oral communication. So that's recording somebody.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Anyway, John, so straight boys with a Z.
Getting tricked by bored housewives on Craigslist. Right off the bat, don't you suspect? It's like I was telling Tim coming over here, an old neighbor of mine.
Too good to be true.
An old neighbor of mine said he was contacted by the Publishers Clearinghouse, and he won $1 million, and would he please spend $1,000 before they came to give him the prize? Here's the bank routing number. Oh, there you go. If you believe that, Santa's going to be giving you the check. Okay. I'm wrapping up my random sample with a story about an LA coffee shop called Cuties Coffee.
Cuties?
Cuties Coffee. It's a LGBTQ coffee shop, and it's run by Virginia Bauman and Iris Bainham Hool. And it's opened in 2017, July 2017. Both the owners are 34. And sadly, the coffee shop may be going away. I love the idea behind it. The idea is most spaces where gay people meet tend to be gay bars. Or in the past, it was a lesbian bar as well. But it's male, it's gay. Usually
it's alcohol related.
It revolves around cocktails and dancing and whatever else. So having a space for trans individuals, for all members of the community to come and just be around other gay people, not in a bar setting, is a really cool idea. But business has been tough. They took to Patreon, which is a crowdfunding site to raise money to keep the place open. They raised enough to keep it open for another month or two, but they pay their employees, a good wage, and the donations alone can't cover that. So unfortunately, it's going to be maybe closing by the end of, I think it was going to be October or November. New York has a similar coffee shop called Blue Stockings, but it's run by volunteers. It's on the Lower East Side, and that volunteer component is what makes it actually feasible because they're not paying salaries and they're paying overhead and space, but they're not paying all those salaries. So Cuties will never be a volunteer-powered establishment, and they're grappling with this problem now. But it's kind of sad to me.
Just the demise of the...
Well, I thought this.
Gay space.
You read my mind. This is one of the reasons this caught my eye. Was used to be bookshops. I mean, it wasn't that I went cruising in a bookshop or something, but it was a place where you met like-minded people who recommended a certain author or a book. And not every gay bookshop was crammed with gay books. It was normal fiction as well. It was that. It was
independent bookseller.
And in the article, which is from the New York Times, the author points out the fact that in many big cities, even though the level of acceptance seems to be higher than it was and is in many regards, many years ago, if you're gay and you're coming out, you want to see what other gay people even look like and act like. I mean, a coffee shop's a perfect place to go.
You want to feel part of a community.
That's exactly right. You want to feel part of something that reaffirms that you're not off in your own little place, and you're going to have a decent life. So that was
That's too bad. I hate when those kind of places close.
Yeah, because it's so well-intentioned, and they really, made a great space. But that's the harsh reality of owning a store, right?
My third one, if anybody's on the West Coast, or I think we've talked about it before, I love In-N-Out Burger.
Yeah. Whenever we've been out there for anything, you
always get In-N-Out Burger. But apparently Trump fans are trying to turn In-N-Out into the new Chick-fil-A.
Really?
So in the latest salvo in the fast food wars, In-N-Out Burger has become the center of a fight between Trump supporters and opponents because of a donation that In-N-Out made to the California Republican Party. So they said the controversy started when word got out that the California-based chain made a $25,000 donation to the GOP, and said the move wasn't popular in California, where Republicans run third, actually, behind Democrats and independents in registrations for voters. They said they found themselves the target of a boycott among disinfected liberals.
Disaffected.
What did I say?
Disinfected.
Disaffected.
Which I guess still works, but
angry liberals, egged on by the Democratic State Party Chairman Eric Bauman. So they essentially said that they're now equating In-N-Out as the newest Chick-fil-A chain, and they're encouraging people to support them, similar to supporting Chick-fil-A for their opposition of LGBTQ rights. So they said the NRA has even jumped in on this, as has InfoWars' Alec Jones, by encouraging people to eat at In-N-Out because it's making the liberals upset. And they said In-N-Out has never taken the kind of high-profile political stand that Chick-fil-A has. For 3 decades, the company has been including references to Bible verses on the inside rim of its cups. Now, do you remember that?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
So on the inside rim of the bottoms of the cups at In-N-Out, we've seen it when you and I have eaten there.
Mm-hmm.
They have references that are very discreet, and you have to really look to find them. And the Bible passages were the idea of Richard Snyder, the son of one of the founders. And they said, but in the burger chain's defense, they also did contribute the same amount of modest donation to the Democratic Party. So they said that they donated to both parties. They said a lot of companies do this. For instance, Amazon.
I was just going to say, you taught me this years and years ago. You never know who's going to win, so they always do 50-50.
They do 50-50. And they gave an example here of Amazon gave $350 to the Republicans, and they gave $350 to $350,000 to the Democrats, because whenever it comes time for whether there's legislation or taxation or buying things, whatever, or you want to get around some regulations.
Isn't it? Don't we call it access? It's access. Companies are concerned about access.
Support both equally, and whoever wins, you're going to be okay because you supported both. But anyway, I was wondering if this is going to take hold, because I'm wondering how many people did know about the In-N-Out's Bible verses on the insides of their cups. I shouldn't say it didn't bother me, but I guess it didn't bother me.
It never bothered me. It never bothered me. No.
I don't think it was a slap in the head, but would it bother you? Or I guess it doesn't.
No. I mean, because I thought they were pretty innocuous. Love thy neighbor as you love thyself. You know what I'm getting at? Like they weren't like, Leviticus says.
Yeah.
Okay.
Those are bad.
Hey, that's all right. So that wraps up the random sample, right?
Yeah.
We are going to take a super quick break. Super quick, fast, quick break. When we return, we're going to wrap up with a shop talk about the aftermath of Nike's rolling out the Just Do It ad last week with Colin Kaepernick, and it revolves around workers at the call center who had to hear what people had to say about that ad campaign. Stay with us. We'll be right back after this quick break.
Brought to you by the 7-seater Volkswagen Atlas. Life's as big as you make it. Visit VW.com to learn more. Focus on the savvy side of 9 to 5 with the Focus Group.
And in business a week, I got more money and I know what to do with.
Listen, laugh, and learn with Tim and John.
Herrera Rocher. He is doing well.
Still one of my favorite rejoins, old Bubbles DeVere.
Everybody calls me Bubbles, darling.
Mariage. So, hey, welcome back to the Focus Group. Tim Bennett here with John Nash. For those of you joining us today, thank you. And for those of you who also follow along on TFG Unbuttoned, thank you as well. That's released every Tuesday. Go to focusgroupradio.com and find out when all of our shows are released, and where you can find them anywhere.
Yeah.
That's free.
Everywhere.
Everywhere that's
everywhere
free.
Everywhere you can find.
So John found this article. We were talking about the whole Nike kerfuffle with Colin Kaepernick and their ad related to the 30th anniversary of the Just Do It campaign. And while there were crazies we talked about earlier that were burning their socks or burning their shoes. If you look at overall in the last week or so, I think CNBC said that even though the stock took a hit in the beginning, it's now climbed up, and actually their retail throughput
on the website,
online and retail has increased as well. So
31%.
Right, it hasn't affected them. But there was a little known kind of
I didn't think of this.
Residual effect of what happened at their call centers. So
I would not have thought of this because this is something I don't call companies on a routine basis, but their call center did log, I'm guessing, thousands of calls. And this was a Newsweek article. And the employee who relayed this to Newsweek just decided to remain anonymous, but he said a young black Nike employee described how call center workers were forced to hear innumerable rants using the N-word and other profanities despite being unable to respond with anything other than a prepared company line. Now, the company line was something like, "Can I help you?" or "I'll take down your concern," or something. It was very...
At Nike, we're deeply sorry that you feel this way. May we take down your feedback?
And that's all they were allowed to say. Speaking with Rolling Stone, the anonymous Nike call center employee detailed how frustrated coworkers cried as they were on the receiving end of vitriolic backlash from people who despised the NFL player national anthem protests. The call center worker said an older black lady in his office broke down in tears after being told by a caller that it doesn't matter if, quote, "a few cops kill some N-words every once in a while because black teens shoot each other every day." I mean, you have to hear this and then say, you know, whatever that stock and at Nike, "We're deeply sorry that you feel this way." There were other people that went down a different path.
Right. There was this one I thought... They said one white coworker was reprimanded because he picked up the phone and somebody started using the N-word and he just hung up on them. And he was reprimanded by Nike because they said he should have given the caller a warning before hanging up on them. Please do not use the N-word. Or
some callers would call in and say that they would not support the brand because of Colin Cotton Pick.
Yeah.
Or Capper N-word instead of Kaepernick. Several callers phoned in to brag about throwing Nike products off highway overpasses and detailed how they are burning their own sneakers in protest. I've said before, folks, if you're burning your own sneakers, they already have your money, so burn away. But a group of Republican moms called in to say they were donating all of their children's Nike products and pulling all their stock investment out of the company.
Stock investments.
How much is that investment? I've got $10 in Nike. Several self-identifying supporters of the president phoned in to call Kaepernick a terrorist and a communist. So I guess the upshot is, in the article is great because this is the stuff you don't see or don't hear about, and yet it was definitely a horrible time to be in that call center, right?
Well, the sad thing that I found about this, and we've talked about this before, is that the president has made this an issue about the flag, the troops. Patriotism, when it's really about racial inequality within the justice system. And if anybody got off of finding your news on Facebook or turning on a different channel other than Fox News, you might come to that conclusion as well, that, you know, you can debate, is it the right place to do it? But
and that's a sound debate to have. Because it's his job, he's on the field, he's at work.
So is it the right place to do it? But he has the right to do it as a citizen, as we all do with the First Amendment right. But the nonsense that this has turned into a thing about respecting the flag and the country and all that, the president has controlled the narrative here. And I thought to myself, if a white hockey player does this, kneeling, or somebody at NASCAR does this, but then it still becomes, is it the right place to do it? So
now, what you said earlier in the broadcast that when you were at Subaru and all the...
We would get all the calls from the American Family Association and all the other crazies about that we're not going to buy your car. And over the years, we used to look at a lot of where these addresses were coming, where the phones are coming from. These people wouldn't buy the car anyway.
If you paid them.
So I had to put together this, and I had to go find it, and I had to put together the sentence or the.
This is the Tim Bennett generated talking point.
Different than the Nike one, which was.
We'll write down your feedback.
You know, we're deeply sorry that you feel this way. Maybe we write down the feedback. My line that I gave to them was, "Thank you for letting us know your thoughts about." This was either Martina Navratilova or gay advertising. We sell cars to educated and informed consumers who celebrate diversity. We'll relay your opinion to the marketing department.
That is so snarky now that I think about it. I remember that it was.
Well, when I was looking at it, I said, we sell cars to an educated and informed consumer who celebrates diversity. I'm essentially saying,
not you.
You're stupid, you're uneducated, you're misinformed, and you're a bigot. And it passed. I mean, they read this.
Oh, they read it
all the time.
So if I heard that, I would have. You should have had a button that the call center could push to hear this, the crumpling noise, and like someone throwing it into a basket. Like, oh, I got it. You know. In other words, their complaint's going to go.
Well, and then they would say, and there was actually a gay guy that was in the call center. He used to die laughing because he would say, you know, he'd say, oh, well, thank you, you know, but we sell cars to an educated and informed. Well, I'm not educated. No, I didn't say that. I just said we sell cars to people who are educated, informed, and celebrate diversity. Let your opinion be known. But it was really, when I think about it, and it probably would never pass now.
Do you think that do you think we could work in a call center?
Oh, no way.
Guys, I could be a call center guy.
Oh, you could not.
John's smiling. John knows I could be nice.
No, I mean, you can talk, but I think you get sick of it pretty quick.
No.
Don't you?
John worked customer service for 3 minutes at Marshall's when he was in high school and got kicked out.
Plus, you got to get on and off that phone so you can call as many people. You'd be like all into the
that's true.
Oh, so see, John takes it as I'd be chit-chatty.
I do agree with that, John. That's
what do you think?
Oh, so you're trying to sell people stuff?
No, just taking customer feedback.
Ooh, no way. Remember how he was when we were trying to teach you how to use Skype? He got so annoyed. He wasn't even talking to you when he couldn't take it.
Oh, I saw the face.
Yeah.
Oh,
no, I know.
That's true.
No, for a direct call center, I've always said I'd hire Jehovah's Witnesses because they're used to rejection. They'll just keep going until they make the sale. So I would stock it full of Jehovah's Witnesses. But for the customer service thing, which I would have to do, no, you're right.
Oh my God!
Chatting.
You know, I have a my invisible resume is quite long at this point. Your reputation.
I've always said you don't know how to say goodbye. You say goodbye, you hang up. Boom.
Bob will agree with you 100%.
Bob says, how many times, Bob and I were on Commercial Street with you in Provincetown, and you'd run into somebody you haven't seen in 100 years and figure out a way to have a 15-minute conversation. And Bob and I would already go have an ice cream cone and come back, and you'd still be yammering away about something.
There. Yeah, all right. So that's going to wrap up the broadcast for us today. Thank you, Tim. Thank you, John and Garrett, our techs in the booth. They make a great job of this every week, bringing us to you. Thank you, Deep Discount. It's the Criterion Sale month. We had a clue earlier in the broadcast that if you guessed the name of the movie that the audio clue came from, and you're one of the first three to send us the name of the movie at letters@focusgroupradio.com, you're going to win something from the Criterion display. We also decided that if you buy one Criterion disc from Deep Discount, photograph it and show us the slip that it came with, you're going to get one pair of Focus Group Radio socks. If you buy 3 Criterion discs, you get a 2-pair household thing. So there you go. Thank you, Deep Discount. And a big thanks to Volkswagen of America. Check out all the deals they have going on at VW.com. I think Tiguan and Atlas are right up there now with some good lease pricing. If you're in the mood for a large car, Atlas is the biggest, right? 7-seater.
It's the biggest 7-seater.
7-seater. Tiguan is handsome as well. So there you go. Don't text and drive. Arrive alive, and we will see you next week. I'm always afraid to say that because
next Tuesday.
It's The Focus Group with Tim Bennett and John Nash. Accessible on all platforms. Subscribe, like, and rate us on your platform of choice. Learn more at focusgroupradio.com.
That was a stunning focus group.